Chaim, you get closer. Thank you, Howard. Because I want, when you ask the question, Ernie, you should hear it well. Okay. Okay, we left off on Daf Ayin. The Gemara told over a story over here. We're just in the middle of the story. So beyond the midpoint. How gavra dem nerdo. The old made betchayim pedisa. A member of the Nerdo community, it was a community in Bavel. He went to the butcher shop that was located in Pupadisa. There was another community in Bavel. Nerdo Pupadisa. Omaluhu Havli Bisro. And the person says, give me meat, I want to buy meat, purchase meat. Omrele Natar Adashokal Ishami de Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. After the attendant of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel, who was the leading Torah sage of the generation, and after we attend his needs, then we'll wait on you. We first have to wait on the great rabbi's attendant, then we'll wait on you. So he said, Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel, Omar, so this person came from Nerdo. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel was from Medisa. Omar, Man Yehuda Bar Shviskel, the Kodem Li, the Shokal Min Kamoy. He says, who's this person? Rather than saying Yecheskel, he used the term Shviskel. Who's this Yehuda ben Shviskel that he should go before me to purchase meat before myself? And it's a very derogatory type of expression. He took the name Yecheskel, turned to Shviskel. Ozlu Omru Leilo Rabbi Yehuda. So they went and told Rabbi Yehuda. Shamte. So what did he do? Put him in Cherem. Rabbi Yehuda put him in Cherem. So they ask it. We've seen it with Lashon. How do you believe it? How do you believe it? No, but how do you believe the fact? How do you believe the fact? So what? The halachas doesn't make a difference. You have to testify in court. The question is a good question. They asked the question. They asked the question. Because the Gemara asked a question in the Sanhedrin. We find that Moshe originally sent a message to Dosan Babiram, they should come. And what did they say? Heini Anoshim. He says, let our eyes be gouged that we're not coming. That's when Moshe came himself. How do you believe it? So over there, the Gemara says, because the person he sent was a Shliach Bezdin. He was an agent of the court. An agent of the court, he functions in a different capacity. So therefore, his function is to report. So therefore, he's fully credible. Another person says something negative, so then you question it. At best, it could only be lochush. You could take it into consideration to verify is it true or not. So, but it's just hearsay. You can't accept hearsay. But if it's within the context of something which is officially being sent as an agent of the court, that you could believe. But over here, it's an incident that happened. So it's a good. The question is a good question here. How did Rabbi Yehuda ben Yecheskel believe what this person was saying? Unless the only way you could hear it, maybe, that it could be his attendant was always anything he did on behalf. He was the agent of the court always, and because he always functioned as the agent of the court, therefore, I'll give you an example. The Chafetz Chaim rules that a person who is fully credible. This man never lies. Your experience over the years, he never lies. And he comes and he wants to share a piece of information, which has relevance. It's not just to speak negative about a person. The halacha is you're permitted to believe that person because he has the credibility of two witnesses. And that's the halacha. That if it's for constructive purposes, you're permitted to believe more than lochush, more than just to take into consideration to verify, even to believe it as fact. Because since he's credible, you're permitted. So, Rabbi Yehuda ben Yecheskel, this is his personal, this is his shamus, this is his attendant. As a result of that, first of all, over here it's toelis. The man himself is not behaving properly. To go disgrace the great rabbi, he's the Gadol Ador. So therefore, the person is nemad kebeitrei. He has the credibility of two witnesses because of who he is. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda was permitted to what? To believe it. So what was his not reaction, what was his decision? The man has to be excommunicated. He has to be put in the Chayrim. No, but you can't believe it. No, you can't believe it. If I come to you and I say, so-and-so disgraced the Torah, you can't believe it. I mean, if actually it's verified, then he's a Russia, whatever he may be. But how do you believe the fact? That's why it's Lashon Hara. Because he disgraced Torah. The Gemara says, for Kovod Arab, you put a person to Chayrim. Okay? And then they informed Rabbi Yehuda that this person, he's accustomed, that he calls everybody slaves, meaning illegitimate Jews. Whenever he comes, he says the man's a slave. He's not a credible Jew, he's a slave, a Canaanic slave. When Rabbi Yehuda heard that, Achraz alei d'avdehu. He went and he announced to the public that this man, he himself is a slave. Okay? That Gemara will explain in a moment. He himself refers to people as slaves. Like today, there's a pejorative term. The man's a mamzer. They don't mean in terms of the legitimacy. It means he behaves in a unacceptable way. He doesn't behave properly. But a person says, the man truly is a mamzer. He's an illegitimate Jew. He's a product of an incestuous, adulterous relationship. So he was saying to Pete, he used to refer to Pete, see this man, he's not a kosher Jew. Why? Because his pedigree is from a Canaanite slave. That's what this person used to say, that they're not credible Jews. So when he heard that, he immediately announced that the man himself, if he speaks about other people and always continuously classifies them as slaves, he himself is a slave. So what happened? Ozel hahu azmei ledino lekami. The Rav Nachman, he went and he put a complaint in the Bezdin Rav Nachman and he summoned him to court. I see Pitko Dasmono. So a summons arrived, a subpoena arrived to Rav Yehuda to come to Bezdin. That the man has a claim against him, he has to come. Because, what kind of slight this is. Here you have a person who's a cheskes kashrus, he's a kosher Jew, and Rav Yehuda is saying that the man is a slave. He's not a credible Jew. Also, Rav Yehuda l'kamei to Rav Yifuna. So Rav Yehuda, who, as I said, was the Gadol Hador, was one of the leading Torah sages, went to consult Rav Yifuna, who was also a Gadol Hador. Does he have an obligation to pay attention to the subpoena? Omar le, ezel or ezel? Do I have an obligation to go or not? Is someone by the court, maybe I have an obligation to go. Omar le, mezel o mi boiloch, lemezel. You have no obligation to go. Why? Mishum de Gaber Rabbah. So Rashi explains, because you're greater than Rav Nachman. If Rav Nachman was greater than you and he summons you, for his honor you have to go. But since in Torah you're greater than he is, you have no obligation to go. Because again, the whole thing is, if your decision was that the man deserved, so Rav Nachman doesn't understand. You don't have to be subject to Rav Nachman. However, another reason you should go. Now it's interesting. We had a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. People, they shop around for psokim. They go rabbi shopping. So, what are they looking? They're looking for the most lenient ruling. So the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that if you go ask a psak, and the psak is l'chumra, and it's a stringent ruling, and then you go to another rabbi and he gives you a lenient ruling, you're bound to the most strict ruling. There's no such thing you could shop around. You go to ask a halachic question, the rabbi rules. It's osir, it's osir. You can't overturn it. Even if he's a greater rabbi. Even if he's a greater rabbi. Okay, that's what I meant. That's what I'm mentioning it here. So, however, the Ritva says in Avodah Zarah that if the first person who gave the psak, if he would know that the greater person had given the psak lenient, and he would retract, and he would actually acquiesce, submit to the more lenient, then you have a right to follow the more lenient going. If he's adamant on his chumrah, on his strict psak, then you're bound to the psak. No, but let's say it would be let's say it would be a student versus a rebbe. You went to the student, and the student gave you a strict psak, stringent psak. And then you go to the rebbe of that rav, and he gave you a lenient psak. Because we could say with certainty, if he would know that his rebbe ruled leniently, he would retract his stringent ruling. Therefore, you have a right to what? accept it linear. But otherwise, you're bound to the more stringent ruling. Okay?
So is the takeaway from this that if there's a court system set up that a rabbi is very knowledgeable, or more knowledgeable than people in the court doesn't have to show up when they get to student?
Correct. Correct. Tell you a personal story I had. The story goes back 37 years ago. Many years ago, there's a little bit of Jewish history. Many years ago, there was a community out of town, and I was going to take a kollel. 10 married people to this Midwestern community to have a kollel. And it was a kollel to study, to learn with the people. So it was a combination of outreach and for themselves to develop to be effective people in the community. And I had the 10 people ready to go. We even rented apartments. And all these people were graduates, were married graduates of Bnei Yisrael, Baltimore. Okay? There was a yeshiva in this community, was defunct, and not only was it defunct, what was happening, it was almost like Chil Hashem. What they were doing there was extreme, didn't relate to the community, was failing, it was a failing yeshiva. They existed already for an extended period of time. Okay? So before I went, decided to get involved in this project, I went to consult with Rabbi Kalatsky. Zeichat Tzadik Levrach. He was the Gadol Ador of Yaakov. So, because I didn't want to consult with my Rosh Yeshiva, because if there'd be any question afterwards, I'd say, of course, the reason why your Rosh Yeshiva said you could go and didn't take into consideration the existing institution is because you're a student, and the people that are going with you, they're his students. So I went to Rabbi Kalatsky to get a psak. Could I go halachically? Is it a problem or not? He says, it comes to do good things for the Jewish people, you should go. So Rabbi Kalatsky's psak was, you should go. Okay? So I recruited these 10 families. We rented the apartments, put down a deposit. All of a sudden, we're about a month and a half before we're supposed to go, I get a summons from the Bezdin. They're contesting my behavior. I have no right to go. I have no right to go into that community. From a Bezdin in New York. From a Bezdin in New York, that I should not go. Just tell me the story. So, I called Rabbi Yaakov. Do I have to listen? These are children committed to Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. There's the Gabra Rabbah, and here you have a Bezdin of small people. So Rabbi Yaakov says to me, he says, if the summons comes, Sabina, you have to go. So I said to Rabbi Yaakov, to Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky then, and then I made a special trip to where he was living. He was living then up in Monsey, New York. This is after he was retired as a Rosh Yeshiva. I said to him, but the psak, the spin is not really about what I want to do. It's your ruling. You ruled we should go. So the issue is not what they're going to deliberate, whether your decision was a correct decision or not. So it's not whether could I go, can't I go. It's not my decision to go. It was your ruling that I should go. That's what I said to Rabbi Yaakov. So Rabbi Yaakov says, it doesn't make a difference. Even though it's my ruling, you should go in either way. Let them verify whether I was right or wrong. He was willing to acquiesce, Rabbi Yaakov. Okay? So what happened? My Rosh Yeshiva and I knew this was going to happen. So I figured if Rabbi Yaakov gave the ruling, my Rosh Yeshiva say, well, it's your Rosh Yeshiva. And this person who ran this institution was a extreme type personality. So my Rosh Yeshiva went, he called Reb Moshe Feinstein. This is, we're talking about, these are the giants of the generation. And he explained to him what was going on. Reb Moshe said, it's not a question, 100% permitted. So Reb Moshe was the posek of the generation. So word got back to this person that Reb Moshe had said, it's not a question. So it should immediately cancel the subpoena. So this person, he's supposed to be a Torah personality who runs this solution, says, you know something? The only reason why Reb Moshe said he said, because he was pressured by the other Gedolim. You understand? So when I heard that, I said, you know something, this man has no value. If you could question Reb Moshe that because he had a conflict of interest, that's why he gave that ruling, that means he's not credible in anything he says. Because anything he says is all subject to his own conflict. Therefore, to me, the man represents, he's a disgrace to Torah, the man should not be valued or acknowledged. He should really be put out of business. Because he's mentoring students. What kind of person is this? So what happened? There was a din Torah. Listen to the story. Everybody heard of Rav Pam. Rav Pam, Zech Tzaddik L'Bracha, he was the presiding dayan in this din Torah. Presiding dayan. And Rav Pam was a Talmud of Rabbi Yaakov. He was a student of Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. So what happened? So Rav Henech Leibowitz, who was the Rishiva Chafetz Chaim, he was a judge. He was one of the dayanim. And there was another person, he was a dayan. And they couldn't get, it's what we had in Sanhedrin, you have to have like a third judge who's like the presiding judge. Nobody wanted to get involved. Firstly, Rav Yaakov set the conditions of who's credible, who's eligible to be a dayan. So he said, Rav Yaakov, the only people eligible to be dayanim, each one has to be a Rosh Hashiva. He cannot be just a rabbi. Because he didn't want it to turn into a circus. Rav Yaakov, he understood it. It may turn and get out of control. They have to be credible. They have to be Rosh Hashivas heading institutions. So Rav Henech Leibowitz, Rav Yaakov called Rav Henech Leibowitz, who was the Rishiva Chafetz Chaim, he accepted. This other person summed him, because the person was a kanoi, extreme, and he accepted. Listen to the story. And then nobody wanted to be there. Who's going to sit and rule and adjudicate whether Rav Yaakov is right or wrong? It's a total disrespect. And Rav Pam is a Talmud of Rav Yaakov. And we're talking this Gavar Rabbah. Rav Yaakov forced Rav Pam to accept the position to be the presiding judge. And Rav Pam, being a tzaddik, he accepted it. We had this din Torah. They deliberated. The man had no case. But because the man was such a vicious type person, they said, for the sake of peace, it should be delayed for 2 years. To give the man, although he failed all these years and he's a disgrace, and he himself, to give himself his last chance to be able to succeed. But he knew once you delay it, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. This is what happened, okay? It did not happen because of this. This is the story. But this is the story. Gavar Rabbah and his student and sent, or somebody less than his student sent the subpoena. Rabbi Yaakov said, even though it's my sock, nevertheless you have to go and you have to go to the din Torah. That was the story of Rabbi Yaakov. So I want to tell you, the end of the story was the dayan, the other judge who was opposed to us on the most extreme level. So many years later, I was here at the Yad Avram already. So it goes back 15 years ago. I was at a wedding, and he was sitting next to me. So he says to me, I want to apologize for the way I behaved at that din Torah. He's speaking about something that happened like 15 years earlier, more than 15, 18 years earlier. I want to behave, I was misinformed, and he convinced me, this person, and really, I did the wrong thing. I want to ask mechila from you. I said, you don't have to mechila. I said, thank God I never went there. That's what I said. So, and that's what here, this is the story. The next day he passed away. The next day this person passed away. The one who asked mechila at the wedding at night, the next day he passed away, this person. And he wasn't an old man, he was a man in his upper 60s at the time. That's the story. So you never know. You never know. No. You know, what was the ruling? Rabbi Yaakov ruled. These people were opposed to it. He contributed to a degree disgrace. Rabbi Yaakov was willing to waive his honor. But factually, it was a disgrace. Rav Moshe said something. Rabbi Yaakov said something. This man couldn't care less. At the end, this person who opposed, his life was a disaster. He ended up divorcing his wife. He left the country. So we're speaking over here. Rav Yehuda, it thrived for other reasons. Okay? Exactly. So Rav Yehuda is the Gavar Rabbah. So Rav Huna says, you're a Gavar Rabbah. Howard, you got the story? Good, okay. Rabbi, you have no obligation. Mishum Yikra de Beinasiyah. Because Rav Nachman was the son-in-law of the Nasi, therefore it's the right thing you should go. Son-in-law. No, you're the son-in-law. Chasna de Beinasiyah. Son-in-law. You see, Chaim, if you'd be the son-in-law of the Nasi, you can imagine what kind of respect I'd give you. Kum Zil. Therefore you should go. Also, he comes to Rav Nachman. So Rav Yehuda is heeding the advice of his colleague Rav Huna. He should go. Ashkechet to Govid Makeh. So he finds Rav Nachman himself involved building the Makkah on the roof. Omar leilosova mar loho. Dom Rav Huna Baridi, Omar Shmuel. I mean, you don't follow the position of Rav Huna Baridi, who said name of Shmuel, Kev shitzman parnas al tzibur, osab asis malocha b'fnei shlosha. You're not permitted to do some mundane chore, even though it's a mitzvah, in the presence of three, because it's not becoming. Because people, you're supposed to have a certain aura of leadership, and if people see you in this context, they're not going to. It's not becoming. It's interesting. There's a question over here. We have the Gemara says in Psochim that a Talmud is not permitted to go to the bathhouse with his Rebbe. A Talmud, it's rule in Shulchan Aruch. A Talmud, a student, is not permitted to be present when his Rebbe takes a haircut. Now the question is, why not? Why? Factually, the Rebbe is no less human than the student. But nevertheless, he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't see the Rebbe in his state because it will detract from the reverence that he should have for his Rebbe. Therefore, unless the Rebbe is willing to waive his honor, the student is not permitted to be in the bathhouse with his Rebbe or to be present when his Rebbe takes the haircut. That's the halacha. Okay? But the student wants to be there. Well, let's see, sometimes the person is older, he needs somebody to assist him. So the Talmud has to be there. The Rebbe has a right to do that. Talmud has a right to waive his honor. Okay? So now, over there, why should he not be there? Because in terms of the relationship between the student and the Rebbe, it has to be in a context of reverence. So the student should be able to maximize what he's able to gain from the Rebbe. But if he sees the Rebbe in a lesser context, he'll be a lesser beneficiary of his Rebbe. So a person's a leader. They appoint him to be parnas al tzibur, a leader in the community. And they see him attending to mundane chores. This diminishes him in the eyes of the people. No, he's not. That's what we just said. He's not. His only claim to fame is he's a Talmud Chacham, he's the Chasnad Bein Nasiya. That's it. People think they come from Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. They have some special yichus. Nothing. Okay? Amalek. So, he says, Purta the Gudris Risa who to Kavidna. He says, I'm making a low fence. But rather than referring to the makeh as makeh or as mechitza, right? The Torah refers to the parapet as makeh. In there's rabbinic language, it's referred to as a mechitza, a partition, a mechitza. He used the term gundariso, which is an unusual term. I mean, he's not speaking the way Jew speaks. You know, Jews speak a certain way. He says, do you have a problem using the term which the Torah uses for the parapet? There's a certain vernacular that Jews speak, especially if you're a person of standing in Torah, you use certain terminologies. The terminology you're using, it's not the terminology which is becoming befitting of a person of your stature as a Torah sage. Meaning he's pointing at points. Here he's summoning him. Do you know who you are? Do you know who I am? You mean you overstepped your bounds. If you would have understood who I am, which he somehow, because later we'll see in a moment, afterwards his wife gave him musar and says, you know something, the man's making you really look bad, just get it over with real quick. You know, because otherwise they're going to see you as an Amoritz. That's what Rav Nachman's wife gave him the advice later. We'll see on the second side of the page.
Well, Rav Nachman was somebody, wasn't he?
But compared to Rav Yehuda, he wasn't. He wasn't anything exceptional. Could you imagine you in the presence of the Rambam or anybody else in the presence of the Rambam? Whatever you know, it's basically you know very little. No, Gunda Risa, no, it's 10th Vachim. He referred, it is, we're talking about. He said, it is, but the term he used, the word, rather than say Mechitzo Maki, he used the word Gunda Risa. Whatever. Omalei, so Rav Nachman says to Rav Yehuda, Yosef Mar Arkapita. Why don't you sit on the Arkapita? Meaning on the chair or the bench. Omar Lei Lison is Sapsol Domer Rabbonon. What do you have difficulty, a problem with the word Sapsol? Sapsol means a chair that the Chachamim use. That's the vernacular of Talmidei Chachamim. Or Itztaba, Damri Inchi, or even the vernacular among ordinary Jews. They use the term Itztaba. We had an Erev in the Gemara in Sukkah. Itztaba means like a platform. Omar Lei. So now he already offered him. Now he wants to give him something to eat. Omar Lei Lechel Mar Isrunga. He's giving him an esrog to eat. But rather referring to it as esrog, he's using the term Isrunga. In an Isrunga. Omar Lei Hochiyam Shmuel. So, reviewed immediately cites Shmuel. He says, Kol Ome Isrunga. A person who refers to the esrog in this term Isrunga, Tilsa Bermos Rucha. He has a degree of haughtiness. It's haughty. You know, like the Gemara says in Deo, that you're able to evaluate a person if you look at three areas. Bekoso. Right? Bekiso. In his pocketbook. Bekiso, how he gets angry. And Bekoso. We'll just look about Bekoso. What's Bekoso? It says that when he drinks wine, if he drinks it in small sips, he's a Balgaigo. Of course, he's from the upper class. He's from the upper crust, right? He's of the upper crust. Okay. And if he drinks it in 2 swallows, that's normally the way a person drinks wine. We're talking about a 4-ounce glass or 3-ounce glass. But if he drinks it in 1 gulp, he's a glutton. He's a gargaron. So by seeing the way a person drinks wine, you're able to identify exactly whether he's haughty, whether he's ordinary, or he's a glutton. Okay? The same thing. Shmuel says a person refers to stroke. He's highfalutin language. Ordinary Jew, you refer to esrog or whatever it is. We don't speak that way. Why are you expressing the way? They put on this, the way they speak, as if they took. How do they should send some. He says, what have some in Anvago? So again, it's a term meaning it's a small vessel.
Seems like he's doing it on purpose.
No. We'll say no, he's not. This is the way he spoke. Because since he's Chasna Ben Nasiyo, it was like a different dialect. They spoke, royalty speaks a different dialect. Malay. So Rabbi Yehuda says to Misoni, Ispargus the Kairabonon. Ispargus, different term. Anpak the Amri Yinchi. Okay? Omale Tesi Dunag. Tashkinon. He had a small, his younger daughter, he says, her name was Dunag. He says, let her come and serve us. She'll be the waitress to host us. Omale Hochim Shmuel. Tano. Exubisha. That a woman should not be the one to serve men. Why? Said there's machlok shoshana. Is it because it's not really appropriate that a woman, for the sake of modesty, she should mingle among men? That's the reason. Or the reason it's not good for her to mingle among men, because it actually will cause it to be affected by it. So he said to Rav Yehuda Ketani, she's a minor. So she's a minor. So therefore, it's that all the issues why a woman should not be serving is not an issue. She's a child. She's a minor. She says, the fair Shomei Shmuel, Ein Mishtab Shabisha Klal, Ben Gedol Ben Ketana. Whether minor, whether she's an adult, doesn't make a difference. You have to. Yalta was his wife, was Rav Nachman's wife. Yalta. And she's the daughter of the Nasi. She says, do you want to send regards to my wife? He says to Rav Yehuda, would you like to send regards to my wife? Yalta. You realize in his own name, Rabbi Yehuda. It usually quotes Shmuel. Hakim kol b'isha erva. He says, would you like to just ask her how she's doing? So originally, with her. B'isha erva. So the Rishonim ask, the verses in listen to a woman sing. So some say, when a woman, you interact with her, there was a certain, lilt to her voice. When you ask her, how you doing, she says, Baruch Hashem. She says it with a little bit of a lilt. So that is called B'isha Erva. She says, Efshal Yishlich. You don't have to directly. You could send, you find out through an agent. Well, but even that's not permitted. Even through a wife, even through a husband. Let's say a person, and this is a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Tosas asks, we find by the Malachim when they came to inform Sarah that she's going to have a child, right? Speaking to Avram, they say, Aye Sarah Ishtecha. Where's Sarah, your wife? Meaning, how is she faring? How is she doing? So you say, you're permitted? That's Tosas' question here. So he says there's a difference. If you want to ask the husband how his wife is, there's nothing wrong, because nothing is being communicated to the wife. But let's say you say to the husband, tell your wife I asked about her. Right? And I'm interested to know how she's faring, that's a problem. Because when a woman hears that another man is interested in her on a personal level, you never know how that could touch the woman. And that could develop a certain level of relationship which is unhealthy. So to ask the husband how his wife is doing, that's not a problem. That's Ayusar Ishtecha. That's the story with the Malachim. But in terms of saying to a person, even through the husband, send regards to your wife. Tell her I asked about her, that's a problem. That's a halachic problem. Definitely. Should not. What the person could say, I met so-and-so. Not to say someone asked about you. That should not be done. Of course, it's a breach of modesty, but here it's more than that. The woman feeling that somebody has a personal interest in her, this becomes a problem. I'll give you an example, because I know I can read people's minds, even though I'm not a mind reader. I know what people think. Many years ago, there was a student. He came from Venice, California. Baltimore. Venice, any craziness that was about to come out in the United States, it began in Venice. And so this boy, today he's a dayan in Eretz Yisrael. He's really a great Talmud Chacham. He's a man in his mid-50s. But then he was a kid from California. So he told me that, we spoke about the laws of modesty. He was like a student of mine. And he said to me, he goes surfing. He sees many things. He's not fazed by it. So when he sees a woman not clad properly, it doesn't affect him. So the whole idea of histaklos, seeing things, he's not fazed by anything. He's so immune to it. So therefore, for him to go to the beach or anything, it doesn't mean anything to him. Because, he was raised with this. So is it an issue or is it not an issue? So you'd say, in today's society, people, that's part of the etiquette. You say, man, send my regards. Tell her I asked about her. So if people wouldn't normally ask, okay, so then you say, that's a problem. He asked about me. So then the woman feels, he has an interest. You never know where that could lead. But if everybody in society says, send regards, or tell your wife I asked, so maybe it shouldn't be a problem. Because it's just a manner of speech. Right? That's what it is. So what would you say? I'm going to ask David. Right? No. Still a breach. Things don't happen by themselves. There are many stages which ultimately bring. Right? There's certain mannerisms of etiquette which, on a Torah level, it's a Torah violation. At one time, there was a question, halacha, not a question, are you permitted to shake a woman's hand? Okay, different. Shake a woman's hand. But what about to kiss a woman? Just as a social right? behavior. Not a question in a million years. Is it Doraisa and serious? It's a love. Shaking hands is a question. No, there were different positions on it. The German Jews conduct themselves one way, others different, many things. But that not. How did it come? At one time it was unheard of. But for the past 35 years in the United States, it is. Or in Europe, there's many things. That's where they bathe. But halachically, it's not. But that's the way they do it. It's irrelevant what they do. But factually, it is what it is. So seeing things, factually, we don't even realize how we're being affected. On a subliminal level, we're being affected. And certain things resonate, touch people, you don't even realize to what degree you touched. So asking a person, saying to a person, send my regards, tell your wife I asked about her. Do you realize how that affects her? You don't know how it affects a person. So to say to the husband, ask her, how's your wife? Ask all personal questions. It's not oppressive. But the husband's not relaying this. Is not communicating this to his wife. But if it's going to be communicated, then that's considered a breach of modesty. And chas v'shalom, you never know where that could lead to. We have another minute. Nachi, I want you to get every minute. Okay? So now his wife, Yalta, she's listening in the background what's going on over here. And she realizes that her husband's not looking good. Rav Nachman, between all the interaction, Rav Yud and Rav Nachman, husband is being exposed to be almost like an ignoramus, an amoritz. Shorilei. So she said, Shorilei Tigra. Delo nishvech geshar amayoritz. He says, resolve this issue, because otherwise you're going to be classified as an amoritz. He's making you really look bad. Meaning, get it over with as quickly as possible. That's the advice of the wife to him. Omalei, my shachi de marocha. He's taking her advice. So he sends him a subpoena. Now he says to Revuta, by the way, why are you here? Why did you come? How did you somehow drift in here? That's the exactly what. How did you drift in here? Omalei taskedem nusa shada mar abasroi. He says, I received a subpoena from you. What do you ask me? How did I drift in here? You sent me a subpoena. That's why I'm here. Omalei hashta shusa demar do gamina taskedas nosim shadanya. Lamar. He says, I don't even understand the refined speech of a man like you. Where would I have the audacity to send a subpoena to some of you to my court? To be continued.